Hi there. I'm Niiamah Ashong, leader of the Trailblazer Collective, where we bring together globally minded, socially conscious, and impact driven leaders to really go out and shape the world. And with shaping the world, there's this element of change that comes along the path. And one of the things about change that I really enjoy is really the space of transition, transitioning from what things were to what they will be or are now. Right now, at the time of this recording, I'm in the midst of a transition myself. I'm going to become a father in, well, basically any hour now. And I found myself throughout this period really being in a place of slowing down to understand that transition. Not even just understand, but to actually experience the transition, to experience the ending of one chapter and the beginning of another. And what has evolved and emerged as a result of that has been this feeling that, if honestly, it feels selfish. It feels selfish. And yet at the same time, it has been incredibly fulfilling and exactly nourishing. And that feeling is I want to do what I want to do right now. I want to do what I want to do right now. Over the last few weeks, I've read web novels, graphic comics. I bought a bass guitar and I'm learning how to play the bass guitar. And I'm sitting here really just immersing myself in some of what it is that I want to do in order to end this chapter with honoring what what else needs to come out of me. And the fun part about this here is like I at some point you might see me actually bust out the bass guitar and see what it might be years though down the line because I'm just doing this for me. But I wanted I felt I got that feeling of like what do I need for me, but I've also been riddled with this feeling of guilt, the feeling of guilt of, oh, I should be building more in the business right now. I should be really creating a lot of connections and so on and so forth. And it hit me. And I'll also say this: you're seeing me now tell you about this experience, but while it was happening, it almost felt like I was being moved in it. I was, I was, I was, yeah, it was just something that I hadn't actually planned on happening, but it just really needed to be expressed. And just the other day, I realized what it was. It was like this expression of wanting what you want and go and being able to create for that as well. So today, I'd like to invite you to explore what it is that you want and to give space and time for that. At this moment here, I feel complete with whatever I need before a child comes. I have everything that I need. All the boxes are checked. And the moment the bass guitar came in, I plugged it in and I strummed a few times. I was like, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready for it. Like he can come in the next, he can come in the next hour. And like, I have completed. There's nothing that I would regret. And there's nothing that I've left behind. I am complete. And so I want to give us, I'm bringing that into the context of today's conversation because we're all going through transitions, uncertainty, changes all around us here. And I think that the element of honoring the transitions, both what is ending as well as what is beginning, has its own special place. Today, I am really excited because I get to be in deep conversation with two people that mean a lot to me. They show up powerfully in each of their own worlds, and I'm glad that they have the opportunity today to come together. Louisa and Brandy, I am really happy to be in this space with you. I look forward to the conversation that I have, and I want to just say to you all as I enter the room with just the two of you here that uh, I honestly am honored and excited to be able to support you. I see both of you as two people who are really creating and shaping what the landscape of the world will look like. And the world might be your world, but there's every aspect of you is shown up in a way that is in that creative element. I want to just say that I see you, I acknowledge you, and I'm happy to be in this space with you. For today, we are going to spend some time here. What I want to do is give us an opportunity to really be in a space where we can explore the frontiers for us, the places that we wouldn't normally be able to go, the places that feel like they're on the edge of possibility. And I like to go there with both of you. I have no real agenda other than serving you powerfully, and bringing my presence to this conversation.
Mm.
That is it. That is my entire guide and point post. And throughout this conversation, if I feel the presence leaving, you will know. I will even call that out. That's my work here. I'm gonna bring in one more thing, and then we're gonna just go and play. And the last thing here is that I have a fundamental belief of how the world gets shaped. And at the core of it all is that we create a model of the world that we want to see in every single instance that we exist.
Mm.
So this conversation for me is already in this space of the world that I'm shaping. And the invitation I have is that we co-create this together. So I'd like to give you just 5 to 10 seconds right now, as I'm finishing up this sentence here, for you to think about the world that you would like to see, the world that you are shaping, both intentionally and by default. And then my invitation to you is to bring in whoever that person is that is shaping that experience into this moment. I am happy to make this space a place where all three of our visions and all three of our ways of the world can live together, and to be in the to both model it and practice it with one another. Awesome. I don't know how that's going to look, uh, but that's I think that's what's exciting to me, to live in, like, to be in that place of uncertainty. We're with it anyway. Like, now let's dance within it. So what I want to do here is I want to spend some time just focusing on each of you individually, and then we'll see where things go, and we'll do this through just through service here. Louisa, I think it'd be fun to start with you today here. Um, Let me ask you this question here, because I want to know what the room is that we're in, right, personally. Why did you decide, you got this invitation, uh, and you decided to come? You decided, and you're here in this moment right now. Beyond the fact that the invitation came and such, why do you feel that you are here in this conversation?
Why do I feel that I'm here in this conversation? Well, I fundamentally believe that we are exactly where we're supposed to be, right where we are. We may not see it at the moment, or right, our mind may want to convince us that we're not where we're supposed to be, but at any given moment, no matter what the circumstance, we're exactly where we're supposed to be. Um, and I know that that's not directly answering the question, so maybe I'll do it this way. When I got the invitation, and if I start to go in a direction that doesn't serve the question, let me know, and I
Yeah,
can
no,
redirect.
I will tell you this, Louisa. I'm good. I will speak up as necessary. Um,
Beautiful.
the end goal here is I want to understand, like, what's going on in your world, and why, like, what would make this a powerful conversation for you.
Okay. Yeah, I got that. Um, so I got the email, and full transparency, because that's just how I play, guys. I saw the email and I was like, I don't have time for that. There's so much going on. I don't have time for it. And then I was like, okay, now just because you said that, now we're going to slow shit down and we're going to read this. And I read through it, and I sat and I was like, read the question, the container you were seeking to create, and I was like, all right, let me sit with I don't know and see what drops in. And I sat there and I went, oh damn. And the thought that dropped in was, I want to show up open-hearted and willing for a life changing conversation to occur. And for me to discover and see in a new light what it is that I uniquely bring to this planet that no other of the 7 billion plus humans bring. What is, and that's a big number. Even as I say it now, I feel like myself like, what in the world could you bring different than 7 billion other people? But I know that I do. It is already there. I want to draw it to me today in this conversation. And so that's what I put into the questionnaire, and that's the game I'm here to play.
Fantastic, Louisa. I'm like, if there's a place to play it, you're with great players here. Brandy, I'm gonna ask you here to really hear and feel Louisa's request here, right? I'm gonna spend some time with her, but I feel part of what our service here today is really being able to not just like to both create the space and also to reflect what we see and to help her find out more about what that thing that she is uniquely positioned to bring, right? So I ask you to be uh, the word co-conspirator in this comes to mind in this case here on Luisa's behalf. All right, awesome, Luisa. Um, So with this here, the 7+ billion people, this is a question that I ask myself a lot. And so you're in the right space for that. I heard you say what I can bring different to all of this here. And in my exploration of this here, like it hasn't been something that needs to be brought or drawn in, right? It's something that actually comes the other way around. It's what comes from within outwards, because there's the only, like, when I think about this logically, I'm like, there's 7+ billion people on this earth, and there's only one Louisa. There's only one. And so the element of bringing in anything extra on top of that feels like just wasted energy, as opposed to being able to truly draw out from within you that which is Louisa, because only you can play that game. Only you. And not only can it only be you, but like by default you become the best at it too. Like
Mm.
I dare someone to out Niiamah. It won't happen. It just won't happen. So from that place there, I want to let you know, like, this is the direction that I'm going to go in. The direction I want to understand is not what else you need to do, what do you need to do different, but like to understand more about you and what else can come forth, because that's where the difference will naturally play itself out, and it cannot be replicated. Are you good with moving down that path?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What comes to you, like what comes to you when I say that first and foremost? And it doesn't
Well,
have to be anything. I just want to just check in with
yeah, I dare, you might not have said dare, but like I dare anyone to out Niiamah. And I guess what I heard in your words is that if I, that maybe at the heart of where I was shaping things to be was maybe comparison, right? Like if I want to be different, then there has to be another that I'm going, well, there's them and there's me. I want to be different versus unleashing and bringing that which only exists within me, which is incomparable and unlike anything else on the planet.
Yeah, but like, however you interpret that, I think we're walking down the same path, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that's a big thing. Like, it's inherently different to just be you, like that, and there's no extra work that's involved, although there is work to be ourselves, right? So, like, that's my forte here. Not to try and figure out what's the novel way of bringing out this thing that I can. No, I'm like, Luis, I want to see you more, and I want to help, like, bring out more of whatever that is that you bring out to the forefront, so that you will naturally take your place as one of the 7+ billion people on this earth with whatever it is that the gifts that you have. Right? Awesome. So with that there, I said out Niiamah Niiamah, and when you said it back to me, it brought something there. What's one place where no one can like out Louisa Louisa?
Out Louisa Louisa. Huh. So what starts to come up is like there's this way of packaging my words that I don't know that I've ever met anyone quite like me that can do this, where I can go from like range of deep, deep brain gum to funny to humorous, throw in a curse word, talking about, doggy style in the same sentence. And it's just this package of, if you don't know me, you're like, damn, that girl's got some range. Like she could go from like way over here to like pop culture in zero point 0.2 seconds flat. Um, I think that's pretty cool. I don't know anybody else can out Louisa Louisa around that.
Let's build upon this here. When you
Okay.
what I'm hearing too is that it's not just range. I'm also hearing agility, like your ability to be in one part of the conversation and immediately be over in another part on a completely different like
Mm,
part of the spectrum is part of what it's part of like just like Louisa what Louisa just does.
hmm I like agility. I like that word a lot. I don't know that it's in my ecosystem today at all, but it sort of it landed really warmly.
Yeah, yeah. I get the sense when you were talking about that it's like you can be with anyone and be with anything, and it also there's also a part of it that feels a bit disarming, where it's like
Mm,
at any part of the conversation, like and it can take a turn in any direction. Just be ready for whatever that turn is, and we might come back, we might not, but like if you're gonna be in Luis's world, this is how things play out.
yeah.
What else are things that are like in Luisa's world, like uh, from your place when people enter space and time with you, what's different about the spaces that you create or the ways that you have conversations or the way that things are than anywhere else in this world?
Yeah. I'll answer that two ways because these are the two, it came to me twofold as you
Yeah.
were talking. One is how I view it, and another is how others have shared with me I show up. And time again, people say, you're like a breath of fresh air. You're like a reset. You're like this, you like reset and bring me back to me, back to square one, back to home plate from wherever they were. Um, and then for myself, it slipped away. Ask me the question one more time, Niiamah, please.
What is different when people are in your world than any other place in the world?
Mm, I have a ways to go on this, but I think I'm proud of how I show up on this today. And maybe that's part of why I'm able to show up this way is that, for lack of a better word, like there's never this I'm there place with this. Like I'm always wanting to lean more into it and explore and expand. And that is compassion. Um, I have an intention to be a person that anyone could sit across from and share and know that they can share anything, and I will hold it in a compassionate way. Slash unconditional love. And I'll tell you what I mean by that, because that can be really amorphous. And it feels edgy to share this because I don't know that I've shared it with anyone other than my shaman. Um, you know, when the video of George Floyd back in May came out, I'm sure everyone, okay, you know, I hesitated to watch the video for a while. I knew what had gone on. You saw clips. And there was a day where I sat down and I said, why don't I want to watch it? I don't want to watch it because it's going to hurt. And I was like, okay, in that moment in time, I wanted to be a part of the meaningful change that was necessary from everybody to not right the wrong, but to bring greater awareness to our collective species in service of more love and compassion. I was like, I've got to watch the video. And it was really hard to watch the 7-8 minutes. And I cried. And even as I think of it now, I'm moved. And my heart went out so deeply to George Floyd. And then something else happened. And this is the unconditional love piece. My heart stirred for him, and I felt the pain. I was like, almost like catching my own breath. And then I looked at the officer who had his knee on his neck, and I had this moment of compassion for him. And I don't know that a lot of people, at least no one that I've talked to, has it. I'm like, I wanted to give him a hug and go, what happened in your life that compelled you to think that doing that to another soul is what this moment needed? Right? Not hate, not anger, just compassion for what healing does he need? And that's the second piece. That's who I be.
Feel my body is really being like resonating with it. I'm feeling a lot in this moment right here.
Mm.
I'm feeling gratitude for you for your capacity to be in unconditional love and to be a stand, be a model for what that looks like. To and there's a clue in this here. I think we need to let's stay down the unconditional love element, but there's a clue in this here where you said there's no one else that you've had this conversation like that has felt this way. If we're talking about 1 in 7 billion, this is it. This is it. Your capacity for unconditional love is something that is tremendous. When there are people around the world experiencing the same experience, and you have this place where you yourself are like, what healing does this person need? What brought them to this place, and to actually have that love there, that to me stands out as something that is absolutely just tremendous. And before going on, I just want to just like call that out. Be in the space of unconditional love, like um, when you talk about that, there's work that's been for me, there's something around anger that shows up a lot. And when I experience anger, uh, people don't really realize this, but there's like they see joy. They're like, how can you be angry, so angry, and yet you're like, you're bringing this energy to it. I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know
Mm,
that you can bring joy to an anger with anger. I didn't know it could be expressed that way. And there's something about what you're talking about here with the unconditional love that just feels like not only is it your like a part of your superpower, but it's like it's it is part of the world that you see. Like I get a sense that like I want to enter Luisa's world and be in Luisa's world because if she has that much compassion, if that's what unconditional love can look like, if she can find even in that moment a way to love that person there, that is one of the most unique spaces that I feel it can exist right now. That's one of the places where I feel that if we're really talking about how do we come together, how do we elevate the consciousness of humanity, so on and so forth, that level of unconditional love is something that I'm thinking right now. I spend a lot of time with a lot of coaches, as you know. Like I know there's still a lot of people in my life, and I can't think of any other space that really has that level of unconditional love here. And I really I want to call that out and just slow down on that element in particular, rather than going off and there's something that's really special about what that is. And I thank you for sharing that with us here. I thank you for sharing it because you've also expanded even my own there's space here that wasn't there within me. The space within me that wasn't there
mm,
before. To be able to have access to another way of looking at things, another way of being with things. And I find myself incredibly curious around like what would it be like to be in a space with Louisa where whatever like that kind of love can actually be practiced. Because I don't think you find that I don't think you find it often outside of like your family, a place where unconditional love lives like
mhm.
that doesn't happen all that often. So I wanted to slow down with that one in particular. Take a breath on it, and I want to just check in with you. What's coming up for you now that you've shared this? What's coming up as I'm slowing down with it here? Um, take me. Let's just recommute.
Yeah. Um, Feeling very tenderhearted. Um, Kind of like I'm holding back um, just a lot of energy in the form of tears. And, um, as you were sharing about the opening for yourself and how unique that shows up to you, what I'm sitting here going, and it sparked when you said, when you literally repeated back to me that I hadn't shared this with anyone else, is that the thing that is the most unique and special about me, I'm not talking about it. And I talk a lot on social media, and I talk to a lot of clients, and I talk to a lot of people. You know me, I love to talk. And yet that's hidden today. So that was interesting because I said it, but it wasn't until I heard it from you, I was like, damn, this is the first time. I mean, this was back May, so it hasn't been like that long, but May, June, July, August, September, 4 months. And it's not like that was the first time I saw it. I've had thoughts like that before about other individuals. And yet it's in this little box that I'm just going to stay with the analogy that I'm creating. When I do this, it's sort of like I have to keep it hidden, to keep it safe, to keep it, you know, like I'm even what I'm doing, I'm kind of like bringing it into my body and doing this. And that doesn't mean that automatically this is what I need to do, but that noticing is really powerful for me, that there is this protection of it that at the same time is also what might be my biggest gift on this earth.
Luisa, thank you for this. I recognize the tenderness there. I'm going to go to Brandy soon to give you some space with this here, but I do want to just leave you with a question around this here, which is you were talking about it right here, um, and it was great in this moment to look at it as something that's external, right? But then there's also an element of it is you, too.
Mm,
So in protecting it, it leads me to believe that you're also protecting yourself, right? And I want to leave some space on that around the element of what if there are other it's within you that are also being protected, and the place that as I go to Brandy, I will look to the places of to give you even more, because the thing about unconditional love is that it is still not all of you, but it is something that is you and
mm-hmm.
it is it's so called for right now because we don't know how to be it. We don't know how to be with it. So I'm gonna invite you to spend some time being in the tender heart of it all. You may not need to leave there, and if you do, um, I would invite you to look at what are other parts of it, what are other it's that you're protecting, because those might also be other clues and indications of other places that are just so you that need to come out or can come out. Right? Thank you, Louisa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Randy, I'm gonna come to you there. I'm still feeling a lot in my body, Luis. I want to I want to let you I want to just share this experience with you here because I'm like the space that's been open within me is palpable, and I want to just also just make sure that you're also seeing the impact of
Mm.
choosing to let that out and what like Nim. Um, Brandon, let's do this here. I want to bring you in here and focus on you. One of the I'm going to let some space go on that. So let's cut right now. Actually, no, we're gonna address this here because I think this is the moment to bring it in. Brandy, we are here in a space for Louisa here, right? Um, would you mind sharing with her what is either one gift that you got as a result of listening and being a part of the conversation? It could be from any time that we've come on, maybe not here. One gift or the impact of that experience on you. This is not to try and teach Louisa anything. It's not. There's none of that there. It's just I just want to make sure that we're giving her an opportunity to see herself as we experience it as well.
Yeah, you actually gave me a lot, so I mean, we could do a whole like segment on that, but I'll make it really, really simple. Um, there were two things that sort of came to my mind about you being you, and that I was thinking of orange juice. I know it sounds crazy, but like concentrated orange juice, right? Like it is the like, you have to add water to it, right? It has to be watered down, but when it's just a concentrated beverage, it's like at its purest. It is just it on its own without anything added. It's like the pure essence of it. And um, I think that's what I got when we got on the phone, like when we got on the phone, dating myself, when we got on this call, just through your smile, just how you showed up was like the essence was already there. And so everything that you said was just confirmed or backed up. It was easy to to come in and feel what was in that is in that ball in that space.
Mm.
Um, and so one of the things that matters most to me in my work and how I live my life is the word love. So I'm elated that that you spoke of unconditional love. And I understand that like putting it in the ball and like wanting to protect it. But the revelation was that for those of us that live in a space of what I think is like loving bravely, like loving the people that others don't want to love or don't believe are deserving of love, or it's a peculiar kind of love because by definition of who should be loved and how we should love, it doesn't look right. I think there's something to be said for you coming out and giving it like purely concentrated love because I think that's what's like, that's what I was drawn to. And that's what people need, you know, that essence of you is like that love in concentrate. I just picture you like with a little orange juice can in this ball, like, but it's just like concentrated love. Um, and that's what changes the world. I truly believe love is like the antidote to what we saw with George Floyd. Um,
Randy,
so
I'm going to
yeah,
ask just one question on that one. Thank you. Can you share with her, like, and I would start the sentence this way, because I like, let's let all that land, right?
okay.
And can you share for her the impact that had on you? I want to make sure we're bringing this in, and I also want to make sure that I'm connecting with you too. So if you can share that impact, and then we'll go in and spend some more time with you.
And I'm looking down because as you guys were talking, I was like scribbling furiously
Yeah,
with my hand.
right,
Like,
right from your heart this way, from your
yeah,
heart this time here. Yeah.
from my heart, how it impacted me was that it told me that the work that I do is needed. The work that that I too am someone who's holding. I'm questioning whether or not the world wants the kind of love that I want to share through my work, and that I'm not alone out there. There are people like us who dare to love in spaces where people, excuse me, now I'm going to get teary eyed, where people are unloved, and the result is what we see. So the impact for me is to show up and figure out like what's concentrated in my love, and make sure that I don't dilute it, I don't put water in it, but I also don't, that I sort of hold the can out, you know, in its purest form, versus, because I have a tendency out of fear as well to withhold or to protect it or to think that the world's not ready. So I thank you for that. It's so timely.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you,
sharing.
Brandy. Thank you, Louisa. I can feel myself like asking myself just to play this out in real time. Like, I'm like, did I give Louisa enough space with a tender heart and so on and so forth? What has happened. Um, More than anything else, we want to make sure that that as we're choosing to play out in different ways, we're seeing how that impacts the world. I don't want to miss that. So thank you, Brandy.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Randy, we have 10 minutes here. I'd love to spend some time just really focused on you. If this like and like building from wherever we need to build here, right? You what struck me was you were talking about the constant, like not from concentrate, just like the purest version, and then you yourself talked about how you didn't want to dilute yourself. I often believe that the things that we see in other people there's a lesson for it in ourselves. So I want to just make sure that I'm slowing down and capturing that in this moment here, uh, as it might be applicable for you as well. The undiluted brandy. If we're gonna have a conversation right now, I love this here. The bar set at life changing. So that's the game that I play. That's just where I'm at. We're gonna have and also modeled. So if it's so the model in here that I love to be in with you is the undiluted brandy version. The like to not just not talk about getting there, but to experience it with you in this session right now. And if that's all we did, that in and of itself is the coaching. All right. So from that place, it is more important for you to practice being in the undilution, the pure concentrated brandy, than any specific thing that we talk about. All right. Take about like 5 seconds to like figure out like what that might mean for you. And it might be this entire conversation, might be the rest of the day, might be the rest of the month that you're going to continue with that. But I want to give us a chance to practice to be in that first and foremost. So take a few seconds for that. You know that you are in a space, you're in a space that can handle it. I like to say we're in the brag zone here. You can't get too big, you can't get too messy. You're like, you can't come off as arrogant. Like, we want it all, and just know that like the purer you are, the more undiluted you are, the more undiluted we are, and we get to see more of ourselves through that lens. All right. So just know that it is a gift to us in you showing up completely undiluted. That being said, with where you are right now, what would make this a life-changing conversation for you? What would we need to talk about for this to be a life-changing conversation?
I think, well, I think we've already started, to be honest with you. Um, I think having a clear, not even understanding, a clear sense of the urgency for me fulfilling the vision that I have for my work and for what. And I hate the word work, because it's really this like vision for the world. Um, and I think I need to feel that urgency again. I've kind of lost it to some extent. I don't know why, but I feel like the way we started this conversation, it's bringing it back, and I think that ending the going away from this conversation and feeling that urgency again would be life changing for me.
So tell me a little bit more about what's missing. What was missing for you beforehand? Like, if you had to bottom line, and we can create some time again to explore more as we need to. But if you had to just get to like the core of what's been missing, that you got a chance to see again, like what is the core of that? Yeah, what's the core of that?
I think the word work has been part of that. The need that, this is more of a mission than like a job or work. It is a life's mission, and yet and still, it's also how I take care of myself. And so the doubts and concerns about um, getting where I need to go to be able to have the life that I need to have, um, muddled with fulfilling this mission, I think is where it's started getting lost. Um, I think early on I was leading really with just the mission, and everything else was taking care of itself. COVID, I think, has slowly but surely eroded that, just because the things that came so easily because I was focused on mission, um, seemingly were lost, but they weren't. It just felt that way. Um, if I really look at all that's happened over the last few months, it didn't happen in the way that I envisioned it. But I think really muddying the mission versus like the mechanics that keep life going has caused me to lose a little something.
All right. So let's just call that out first, the mission versus the mechanics. I find myself right now, Brandy, just in the way that our conversation's going, that I'm like, I feel like this is a conversation that will take more than 4 minutes to have. I actually do have a few minutes that can go past the top of the hour, but if that would work with you, but I think regardless, that work for you too, Lisa? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great. Um, Wonderful. So let's be here. We won't go more than a few minutes past the top of the hour. But let's be with us here. I want to explore this here because you talked about the urgency, and my initial reaction was to like go down the path of, okay, let's continue to build the urgency, but then a part of me, like this, and this is just like a intuitive element. It's like there's something that's been missing, and right now urgency seems like part of the solution for what it is. But I want to make sure that we actually know what it is that you are actually missing right now, such that like what's that is leading to urgency being a part of the solution. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a part here. Let me ask you right now: are you disconnected from your mission at this point here? Like, I just want to like see what's.
No, I'm super hungry for it. Like I want to get up and do it I want. That's all I want to do is do the things that fulfill this mission.
And so, in the mechanics, like I want to. So let me ask this question differently. What would serve you the most right now
In this moment or
in this
just in
moment?
general? in this moment?
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go to in general. Like let's like it serves both, but what would serve you the most?
Um, the stability to just focus on my mission. And that looks like, you know, being able to focus and not serve maybe some of my other clients so that I could build what needs to be built so that my life's work every day is doing the work in this very specific way, which is touching people like Louisa who are love driven, love centered, purpose driven individuals and helping them find their path and then giving them the tools to turn that into their method of changing and contributing to the world. Um, I do that in my work, but I do it in a much more traditional way. And I'm more ingrained in the actual mechanics of doing the work for someone versus empowering and enabling and equipping. And that's where I want to be.
In what ways are you diluting your mission right now?
It's a deep question. Um, I think one way in which I'm diluting it is that I'm not really talking about as um, upfront, I guess, about the spiritual side of this work, um, and the side that is also sort of soul work, where we're talking about love and purpose. It is getting diluted in words and language that I think the other person needs to hear in order to buy in. Right. So and if we use the analogy of concentrated, I don't think that they can stomach the full essence of it. So I'm giving it, mixing it up with a little bit of what's known and more familiar versus giving them the sort of peculiar experience that really may help them see things in a different way or um, start to think and move in a way that really does allow for them to be a part of changing the world and making a shift towards the kind of world they want to be a part of.
So, Brandon, when I hear that, I heard two things. One of them I heard as a language element, and the other thing I heard, and this is the second time you use this word peculiar, and peculiar is a peculiar word, so it sticks out to me. But you said giving them a peculiar experience, and it wasn't actually in the language and of it all. Um, and you know, there's an element here that I think would really I want to call out both elements, both the language and what and playing in the space of a peculiar experience with the undiluted version of it. I'm going to talk about right now. Because I can't help. I'm tickled right now. But there's two other things I hear that if we're talking about, you know, you're not out in the world sharing exactly as it is, the and so on and so forth. Um, there are two things that are coming up in this conversation that seem technical, but at the same time, I'm like, well, if like, how else might this be playing out? How might this actually be a representation of exactly what Brandy's talking about? The
Mm-hmm.
first thing is that as this conversation goes, I can no longer see your face. Like the
Oh.
world is becoming darker around you, right? And the lights are going down. And the thing for me there is like, where else is Brandy hiding in the shadows? Where else is she like not stepping into the light? Like I have three lights in front of me right here. The world will see me. I have like a microphone over here. Like the world will hear me. There's no like, and even that your microphone is also a lot lower, right? And so there's these elements here where I'm like, I'm taking this experience and seeing like what even about your own environment are you creating where like you aren't in the light, right? And you aren't creating that which allows you to actually be seen, to really be seen regardless of the situation. The sun always sets and you know there's cloud cover and all that there, but like what, like I get really curious about like where else are you not creating the environments that will like naturally support you from the very beginning? Where else are you letting whatever happens to be around be the amplification of your voice there? Because there's a lot in there. So I'm going to pause really quickly and check in with you. Yeah, I see you smiling. I hear you laughing a little bit. Uh, tell me what's going on. And if you need to experience it, take some time to just experience first.
Well, no, you're tapping into, and I do apologize. Actually, everything is voice controlled, and it just happens to be that the thing that turns on the light is not responding right now. So I can take a moment. Just technical difficulties in life. Um, so
But even that still, Brandy, I hear you, and like it's with love that I say this here, where it's like, you know, my space, anything goes. I told you my video might freeze. Like if you needed to go up and just go flip the manual switch to come back and sit here, like you could have done that, you know.
yeah,
So I want to call that out there, where it's like yes, you've entered my space, but we said from the very beginning that we're going to model the world that we want to see, and if you want to be seen, then like part of the modeling would be doing whatever it took to be seen. I don't care if you get up and go. Like I'm good, you know.
yeah,
I actually look at that. I'm like wonderful. Like we're playing, but we're doing the work. So I hear
no,
you in the voice activation, and I think for me it's more of like, Brandy, you are one of the most powerful people I've come across in my life. I love the things that you do. I love the way that you show up here. Like I love I like there's so much about you that I'm just like, you came up, you see an injustice, and you're like, I'm creating something out of this. I'm creating a program. I'm bringing people in, whatever it is. Like you're on it. But voice controlled lighting, like you're not going to get me on that one. You're not going to get me on that. And I just like to think about it from the standpoint of realistically, I'm pushing a bit here because it's edgy for me as well. And I think that, but I just think about it from the standpoint of like, okay, if you want to be undiluted, if you want to be seen in the world, if you really want to be able to express that there, how can we make sure that you're the question in my mind, how do we make sure that you set up the environment for that, regardless of what the external environment is ready for, regardless of what the external environment is naturally doing, so on and so forth. Like like to me, this could be, if you choose to allow it to be, a microcosm of how an example of how other things play out in the world.
no, you're hitting on a couple of things. Well, one is bucking up against the part of me that's about decorum. So although you say like, yes, you can get up and turn the lights on, I'm like, no, I have to sit right here and wait for either permission or a moment when it is appropriate to do that. I need to turn my camera off. I need to walk across the room, and so there's that, which all it's playing into all of these things that we're talking about. Um, it's also the part that, like you said, I can create this thing in response to something that I see as injustice or pain or hurt. But then there's a part of me that is very, and it's very hard for people to believe, that is so like internalized and introverted, that when you say to me, you're one of the most powerful people, that all that recoils, like all of that in me goes, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with believing that. I don't not believe it in the sense of, it's not that I disbelieve you, because I believe you, Niiamah, period. Like I think I trust that you will not say anything that is untrue. This whole last 18 months has been about like coming out of decorum and stepping into a place of accepting all of this concentratedness. And it's interesting that we're using like stepping into the light, because that's exactly what's happening right now. I'm suddenly being confronted with speaking opportunities and these things that are very public. I'm doing a photo shoot in a week or so for, my brand photos, and showing up and sharing my voice. And it's just not, it all has to be very orderly. And that is the mechanics. That's the mechanics that's being pushed up against. And and it feels very discombobulating for that matter. Disorienting, because the order is so out of sync with what I know to do on automatic pilot. So I feel like what people are responding to when you say power is that order. I don't know this more intuitive internal thing. I'm getting in touch with it as other people are also recognizing it, if that makes sense. I'm learning about it as you're experiencing it. The work world, the professional world didn't sort of allow that to be mine. It was theirs, and it was controlled, and it was in that box. Now I have this blank canvas and this mission to fulfill, which that's very clear. It would have probably been more natural and normal for me to like have this mission and then assign all the people to go out and do the work. But now I have to do it. I have to turn on the light and be the person that's seen it. Yeah. So it's like this. I mean, it's very fitting that the sun starts to set on me in this moment. And it's interesting because there are a lot of things that I'm procrastinating about, like buying my lighting kits and things of that nature, out of the sheer like, oh my God, what do I do with being an out front person? And I say out front, not just meaning like be a star, but like out front in the sense that my voice and what I'm sharing actually is delivered and is the thing that is driving a mission. I still feel very humbled by like, oh, I'm supposed to be like, oh, this is my work. This is what I'm put here to do. So like I said, I'm experiencing it as you're experiencing it. And yeah, so that's what's happening in me right now.
Yay. Yay. That's what, because to me, I know that you're on the path. Like Randy, you're experiencing me as I'm experiencing me. And Louisa, like I feel like Louisa, like we're all in that space here. Like you're it, like this is the game that we're choosing to play. This is why when people talk about uncertainty, I'm like, what is like I'm living in an uncertain world right now. I'm trying to figure out me for the first time. Someone help me. There she is. She's like,
Let there be light.
very like, I am going to be seen. And that's like,
I
yeah,
had to call to the kitchen to get lights.
yeah, done. It's but that's it. I mean, that took literally 0.3 seconds, but we can see you here, right? And like, it's just it's that small gap of like, how could 0.3 seconds make the biggest, like make the difference there? How could like this is what I'm pointing to here, like, and I want to like acknowledge you and just be with you because like I see you on the journey, and that's how I know, like I know that it is harder to actually go and do the work than it is to do like the pop culture elements of it all, to share the things that should be shared, to do all the other elements there, like to actually be in the work. It's what it comes up with what you are experiencing. And so I recognize that, and I call out your power that's there, and I want you to know, in case you can't know right now, and you may not be able to receive it in this moment, but I want to be one of the people that starts pushing the flywheel, so that one day some it could be an Instagram post that comes out of nowhere, just like, oh, you know, like it doesn't have to be me. I'm part of your team that's helping to make sure that you see that. So I wanted to say, like, I acknowledge you here. We're going to wrap up the conversation at this time here. There are some things that I'm going to call out, though, based on some of what you said. Um, you talked about the recoil when I brought up when I brought up the recoil that you experienced, and my it came up when you were talking about I have to dilute myself for others, and I know this because I myself had to go through like I went through a path of this myself, which is it that other people can't handle you, or can Brandy right now handle the undiluted Brandy? Can Brandy handle the pure like can your nervous system handle it? Can you, like, if you were going to be you if you were going to do like be so fully in that, can you handle that?
Wow, that's deep. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't, I think the answer to that is actually no. I think what I'm actually realizing is that there's like this power that I have with people that I is bigger than I know what to do with.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is why I like to spend time with you and others in here, because like we are experiencing our power, and like we need a space where where we can explore and be messy with that, and to see what it is, and to have all that there. Like it's why I build my programs in the way that I do. You know, it's just consistently us getting the chance to practice and be with, and to be with that power, because it takes a bit to have that. So just even calling that out, right? There's nothing that we need to flip in this moment, but like just to raise the awareness on that, right? That's one thing. And then the second thing, and we'll wrap up with this here, is the element of decorum. I know you. I My first experience of you was to be someone who is like to bring radical love to change a system. The system that we're currently in is asking for decorum to continue what it has currently been doing, what it has always been doing. And
Mm.
so for the game that you play, which actually involves changing the world, shaping the world, liberating other people, and so on and so forth, decorum may be the tool that others use to keep you from actually being powerful.
Wow.
So I'm going to invite that for you.
Wow. That's
I just got goosebumps.
like, I don't even like, that's so big. That's so big, Niiamah. I have no, like, that's so big. You just took
Could
like,
you say that one more?
no, go ahead. No, no. Go ahead.
Finish, Brandy. You finish first, and I'll come back to Lisa. Go ahead, Brandy.
No, I just, I don't even have, it's just so big. It is something that has, you just summarized in a couple of experiences with people who don't play in decorum, and how I've been able to show up more courageously for them because they've given me the freedom to not have to be polished and refined or perfected. Um, you know, I mean, I'm a debutante, for Pete's sake, like literally a debutante. Um,
What does that mean? What does that
and
mean? Just so I can like enter. When you say you're a debutante, what does
well,
that?
like I was literally, you know, I went through a whole process of learning how to be present and being presented to society. Like that happened. I'm looking at the picture on my mantle of me in the ball gown at 16 years old and going through charm lessons, and you know, and my father presenting me to my, you know, to society. Like that is the world and the experience in which I've come from. Um, and it meant so much to me to have that experience. But then to come into spaces now where I'm doing this work with people, and specifically, you know, this one particular client who just does not play that game. The stakes are too high for him, for what we're trying to do, for me, for us to um, to be apologetic about saying what needs to be said, pushing what needs to be pushed, changing what needs to be changed, being messy about it. And it's been scary and freeing at the same time. I have not brought that into my work. I do it when I do it for him. I have not brought it into my work. My work is still very much, even going through the revival, the messiness in there was something I was hiding from, because I really did do that on the fly. I never would have done that. I would have taken months and planned it out and wrote the curriculum and did all, but this was like every week was flying by the seat of our pants, as you know. I mean, there were days where you got agendas like the same day or right before, and it was because it was in the messiness of life. That was not comfortable for me at all.
And here goes the thing. I felt most comfortable, just so you know, I felt most comfortable when I got the agenda for you 5 minutes before the session. Like you sent me a spreadsheet. You're like, here's what we're gonna do 9 weeks from now. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna. But you sent me 5 minutes beforehand. I'm like, cool, we got this. This is easy.
Wow.
I say that not because like I'm everyone, but I want you to also like experience the range of like you might have felt it as messy, but like to me, this is exactly what it is. Louisa earlier talked about her range and also the agility, right? They're like when it comes to the decorum part, I'm not looking to break it. I just feel like you've gotten what you need to get from decorum. You can always bring decorum into the mix, but if it's the only gauge that you have, if it's just an on switch for decorum and you don't have any range or any ability to switch out of that into like in this moment here, screw decorum. Like you need to hear this, and then we can get back into it if we want to, or what. Like if you don't have the agency of that there, then we're losing out. We're missing out on your power and what you're actually like what you're actually here to do. So it's like it has served you up until this point, and we need to get like this expand and stretch and give you more access to other places and know that it is powerful in and of itself. That's why I'm reflecting back to you my experience of it. It was actually helpful for me when that you were playing the way that you were playing because we needed to know what was happening in that moment, what needed to be addressed in that moment. The world is too uncertain for that stuff there, like we're out of that world. So
Wow. Thank you.
I'll leave you with this. Yeah, I'll let you go and expand because I can see some things are growing and shaping and playing there. So let's give you some space with that, and then let's reconnect on this here. And Bernie, I'm serious. Like I do think like I would love for you to be a part of like this Trailblazer collective that we're bringing together because it is specifically for this year. For I'm stepping into my power and I don't know where to go with it. I haven't said this out loud many times. I recently came to realize that I'm on a journey, and the journey is like it's a journey from repression to liberation. Because up until this point, up until a certain point in my life, Louisa was actually in the room when it happened. Up until a certain point in my life, I had created my success by repressing myself, and there was a way that I had to be in order to get success. And now I'm on this path on the journey of liberating myself, and it's messy, and it sometimes we go way over in terms of what I think the time's going to be, and so on and so forth. But like, it is the path. And so when you're talking about this here, like I want to let you know, like I'm with you, I see you, and it's part of the reason why like I'm on this journey with you. All right, we're on this journey.
Yes, together. Yeah.
So let's end things here. Just know that I appreciate all of you. Thank you for
Mm.
showing up fully. Thank you for trusting me to be here, and I see the work that you're doing. We'll continue on this through additional conversations. All right.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
This was wonderful.
Really wonderful.
It was
Yes.